It's about 6:45 in the morning, and this is the third cork harvest I've had at Finca el Moro. To harvest the trees, it's a very traditional team. We have usually 4 pairs of axemen, each work together on one tree. One is usually the lighter, more agile of the two and goes up the tree with the ladder, or literally climbs up to start the cut at the top. And then you have the stronger, bigger man down the bottom. You then have a man called the rajador. He's very important. He works on the ground, piling up the cork into piles as it comes off, so that the man on the tractor can load it up, or the man on the mules, depending on what they're using. But the rajador's job is also to cut off any bits that are of no value to the buyer. And there's a fine line, obviously, between what's of no value to the buyer and what I would like to sell. So it's quite a good idea to get on with a rajador, because you want to make quite sure that he's not cutting off too much for you. So that's why I go out there with a bottle of cold beer every breakfast time for them. So this is the sort of sample that the rajador has to get rid of, otherwise he's really not doing a job for the buyer. It's right down at the bottom of the tree. You can see this, it's got its lichen growing here. It's slightly dirty and very uneven, and quite obviously you couldn't get corks out of this bit. So he will have, with his sharp knife, scored along here and just broken this bit off. And this will just remain on the ground in the cork grove, although in some years there is such demand for cork in general that you'll get guys coming round to you later on in the year in September time asking if they can come and pick up all the pieces, and they'll get a few cents a kilo for this kind of discard, which is then, I expect, ground up and extruded with resin to turn into all sorts of various products you might get. The two main tools in the harvest is the axe and the urga, the hacha and the urga. The axe, the blades are forged usually out of spent ploughshares, which is a particularly hard tempered metal. They are very sharp. They have this shape so that you can get it into the tree, which you've seen the guys doing on the tree, and then you can rock it forwards and backwards, which makes the cut. The handles are also always homemade. This one's made out of chestnut wood, and it's shaped at the end like a tire lever. So as you've seen, they make a cut, make a cut, make a cut, and then the axis and the mate, it's like a hammer, it's a lever, it's used of everything. You get the sharp end in underneath and you can lever it up and out. Once the cork has begun to lift, and this year they're saying my trees que será como si fuera una breva, which means they are giving like peeling the skin off a young fig, which I mean it's going very well, the harvest. They got a huge amount off in the morning session. Once you get it lifted off, you then use the big urga, this big lever, which as you see gets pushed underneath and pushed up and pushed up and pushed up to get the cork to lift right up to the top. Because what they want and what I want too is that the cork should come off in big strips, because then obviously the yield, the amount of useful cork, will be much greater than if it were to come off in little bits. And if it comes off in little bits, then you can't make corks out of it. What you want is a good big strip that you can then cut your sections out of for the cork, and I can explain about that later on when we actually have a look at a piece of cork. But anyway, it's a very simple set of tools: an axe and an urga and a lot of labour. It's not only that we get cork from the cork grove, it's also where we fatten our pigs. The cork tree, being an oak tree, gives an acorn, and on certain years it's as if the ground is just carpeted with acorns. And that's a very important food source in the autumn for fattening our pigs, the black Iberican pig, from which we make our hams and our sausages. So the acorn is a very important annual crop, and for that reason alone the cork harvest is assured at El Moro, because one would never do anything else with the land.